The jungle was silent but not peaceful. Shadows moved between the giant trees, and every sound of dripping water felt heavy. A team of explorers walked carefully through the ruins of an ancient city, half buried under roots and stone. Most of them were aliens, tall, scaled, or shaped in ways no human could imagine. But one figure was different. One figure was human. His name was Daniel. Daniel's boots crunched on broken stone as he followed the group deeper inside. The air grew colder with every step. The walls of the ruins shone faintly with strange marks, glowing blue symbols that no one could read. The leader of the alien team, a gray-skinned creature with 6 eyes, raised a hand. "Here," it hissed. "The chamber is close." The explorers entered a wide hall. In the center stood something strange, something terrifying. It was a prison. A prison made not of iron or chains, but of glass. Tall, perfect, unbroken glass that glimmered like ice. Inside it, frozen in place, was a woman. Her hair floated as if in water. Her eyes were open. They glowed faintly in the dim light, staring outward, staring at nothing. She looked alive, yet trapped in endless sleep. The aliens whispered among themselves, "This is dangerous. She should not be touched." This one was locked away for a reason. But Daniel stepped closer. He felt something, a pull deep in his chest. It was not fear. It was not curiosity. It was connection. He placed his hand on the glass. It was icy cold. The woman's eyes flickered. Daniel froze. "Did you see that?" he whispered. The aliens hissed and stepped back. She moved. "No, impossible. She is only a body. A relic, leave her." But Daniel could not step away. He felt her gaze on him even though she had not moved again. Her face was calm, almost sorrowful, as if she had been waiting for something. Or someone. The leader of the team growled, "Human, step away. You do not understand this prison. Long ago, powers greater than us locked her inside. To break it is death." Daniel turned. "Then why is she still alive? Why do her eyes glow?" "You're afraid, but I think she was never the enemy." The aliens hissed louder. They wanted to leave. But Daniel stayed. He pressed his palm harder against the glass, and then it happened. A crack. Thin. Sharp. Like lightning. A line spread across the prison, glowing white. Mist hissed out. The aliens panicked. Some ran for the exit. Others raised their weapons. "Fool, you have doomed us all." Daniel stumbled back as the crack spread faster and faster. The entire prison shone with blinding light. Then, the glass shattered. The sound was like thunder. Shards flew across the chamber, dissolving into sparks of light before they could touch the ground. Cold mist filled the air. Daniel shielded his face, coughing, eyes burning from the sudden icy wind. When the mist cleared, she was there. The woman. She fell forward, her knees striking the ground, her body shaking as if she had been drowning and only now found air. She gasped, drawing her first breath in centuries. The chamber was silent. Every alien froze, weapons trembling in their hands. None dared to move. Her eyes opened wide, glowing brighter than before. She lifted her head slowly and her gaze locked on Daniel. Daniel felt the weight of her stare. It was not anger. It was not gratitude. It was something else, something ancient. Her lips parted. Her voice was weak, broken, but clear enough. "Us, did you wake me?" Daniel swallowed hard. His mouth was dry, but he forced himself to answer. "Because no one deserves to be locked away like that." "Not forever," she blinked. For a moment her expression almost softened. Then her eyes darkened again. "You do not understand," she whispered. "They will come now." "Because I am free," the explorers gasped. "They who will come. What have you done, human?" But Daniel could not look away from her. He felt the truth in her words. Something terrible had been waiting for this moment. Something was already moving in the dark sky above the ruins. The woman shivered, pressing her hand against her chest as if remembering pain. Her voice was almost a breath. "They will never stop. They will never forgive, and now, you are part of it." A deep rumble shook the ground. Dust fell from the ceiling. The ruins trembled as if something heavy had landed outside. The aliens screamed in fear. "They are here! Run!" Daniel turned toward the entrance. Shadows moved in the mist. Red lights flickered in the distance, sharp and hungry like the eyes of predators. But Daniel did not run. He looked back at the woman, still weak, still on her knees, yet glowing with strange power. In that moment, he made a choice. He would not abandon her. Whatever they were, whatever danger had come, He would stand with her. The story of the glass prison was not an ending. It was the beginning. The ruins shook as the echo of the shattered prison faded. Mist still curled in the air, clinging to the walls like ghostly hands. Every explorer stared at the woman who had fallen free. For centuries she had been frozen, a silent statue inside a glass tomb. Now she was alive, breathing, moving, staring with eyes that glowed like burning stars. The aliens hissed in fear, their scaled bodies pressing back toward the walls. None dared step closer. Some lifted weapons, claws shaking as they aimed at her, but none fired. It was as if they all knew. Shooting her would not be enough. Only Daniel, the human, stood still. His heart pounded, but his feet refused to move. He could not tear his eyes away. The woman's voice broke the silence. "Why did you wake me?" Her words were soft, but they carried weight as if the stone itself listened. Daniel swallowed.
"You were trapped, alone. I couldn't
leave you like that." Her gaze held him for a long moment. Something strange flickered across her face, an expression between sorrow and anger. Then she closed her eyes, whispering in a voice that chilled the chamber. "Then you have doomed us both." The ground rumbled again. Dust rained down from the ceiling. Far above, deep metallic sounds echoed like machines stirring from sleep. The leader of the alien team hissed, his 6 eyes glowing with terror. "They are coming. The hunters. We must flee." The other explorers scrambled for the exit, their footsteps echoing wildly. But Daniel stayed. His hands trembled, yet his eyes never left the woman. "Who's coming?" he asked. Her eyes opened again, glowing brighter, filled with memories older than his world. "The machines," she said. "The ones who imprisoned me. They will not allow me to walk free. They will come to erase me." "And now erase you?" The words made Daniel's skin crawl. But instead of fear, a strange fire sparked inside him. He stepped closer, ignoring the cold mist that still clung to her. "You were a prisoner," he said, his voice firm. "But maybe you were never guilty. Maybe they feared you." Her eyes narrowed, studying him, testing him. "You are human. Your kind should not even know this place exists. And yet," she tilted her head, "you touched the prison when none of the others dared." "Why?" Daniel breathed slowly. "Because when I saw your eyes, I knew you were alive. Not a relic, not a monster, alive." For the first time, her lips curved, not a smile, not exactly, more like a question, a thought she could not believe. The moment shattered with a sound from outside. Boom! The ground trembled violently. A blast of red light tore through the distant jungle. Screams echoed from the fleeing aliens. Shadows moved through the mist outside the ruins. Tall, metallic figures with glowing eyes. The hunters had arrived. The woman staggered, still weak from her long imprisonment. Daniel rushed forward, catching her before she fell. Her skin was ice cold, yet beneath it he felt a pulse of power, steady and strong. "Do not touch me," she whispered. But her hands did not push him away. "I am not what you think." Daniel shook his head. "Maybe not. But I'm not leaving you." The first machine entered the chamber. Its body was tall and angular, metal plates gleaming black. A single red eye glowed in its head, scanning the room. Its voice was a harsh metallic screech. Subject located. Terminate. Weapons unfolded from its arms. Blades gleamed and energy cores hummed with deadly power. The woman stood straighter, pulling herself from Daniel's grasp. Though weak, her presence filled the chamber with invisible force, as if the air itself obeyed her will. "Back," she whispered. "Stay behind me." Daniel hesitated, but then stepped beside her instead. "No, I'll fight too." The machine's red eye flickered. It moved forward. In that instant, Daniel acted. He grabbed a broken spear left behind by the ancient ruins. Its edge was dull, useless against metal. But he gripped it tightly, standing tall. His heart thundered, but his voice was steady. "You'll have to go through me first." The machine tilted its head, almost mocking. Then it raised its weapon. But before it could strike, the woman's hand rose. Her eyes blazed, brighter than fire. A wave of energy exploded outward, slamming into the machine. Metal screeched as the hunter was hurled back, smashing into the wall. Sparks flew. The chamber shook again as more hunters approached, their heavy steps echoing closer. The woman fell to one knee, gasping. The blast had drained her. Daniel dropped beside her, gripping her shoulder. "You're hurt." She shook her head. "No, just not whole. My power has slept too long." Her eyes burned with fury. But I will not return to chains. Daniel glanced at the shattered glass pieces still glowing faintly on the ground. Then we don't run, he said. We fight. Her gaze snapped to him. She studied his face, his eyes, his trembling hands that refused to let go of the spear, and for the first time in centuries, she felt something she had almost forgotten. Hope. Outside, the roar of engines filled the air. More shadows moved through the mist surrounding the ruins. Red lights glowed brighter, dozens of them. The hunters were here. The ruins shook again. Outside, the jungle burned with red light as the hunters searched. Their heavy steps echoed like drums of war, each one closer, each one louder. Inside the chamber, Daniel kept his grip tight on the broken spear. The woman stood beside him, her glowing eyes scanning the shadows. Though she looked weak, there was a storm inside her, a storm barely held back. The first machine lay broken against the wall, sparks dripping from its shattered chest. Daniel still could not believe what he had seen. With only a single gesture, she had thrown it like a child's toy. But if she had that power, why had she been trapped? Daniel glanced at her. Who are you? She did not answer right away. Her breath was heavy, her face pale, but her eyes never left the ruined doorway. Outside, red lights flickered through the mist, moving closer. Finally, she spoke. Her voice was low, filled with centuries of memory. I am called Soraya. Once, long ago, I fought to free worlds from the machines. My people believed we could stop them. Her gaze turned distant as if she could still see the past. We fought a war that spanned stars. But the machines were endless, cold, unstoppable. One by one, my people fell. Daniel listened, his heart pounding. Her words carried weight, like the voice of someone who had lived through nightmares. I was their last hope, she continued. I struck at the machines, burned their armies, broke their fleets. And for a time they feared me. But they do not feel fear for long. They came together and they trapped me in that glass prison. They believed if I slept forever, no one could rise against them again. Daniel tightened his grip on the spear. But now you're free. Her eyes turned to him, sharp, piercing. Free? She repeated. No, now I am hunted. And because you broke the prison, you are hunted too. The ruins shook again. A heavy crash echoed down the halls. More hunters were entering. The surviving aliens from the exploration team screamed as they ran deeper into the tunnels, their fear filling the air like smoke. Daniel and Soraya stayed where they were, standing over the shattered glass prison. Daniel's voice was steady, though his heart thundered. You said you fought to free worlds, maybe. Maybe you can fight again. Soraya's lips curled, not in a smile, but in sorrow. I cannot. Not as I am now. My strength is broken. My power sleeps. And even if I could, to rise against them again would bring fire to every world. The machines do not forgive. Outside, a metallic voice boomed, echoing across the ruins. Subject Soraya detected. Human presence confirmed. Prepare elimination. Daniel felt the sound in his bones. But instead of fear, something inside him hardened. He turned back to her. Then let them come. I won't leave you. Soraya stared at him for a long time. Why? She whispered. You are only human. You should run, hide. Your kind cannot face them. Daniel's jaw clenched. His eyes burned with quiet fire. Because someone has to stand. Maybe my kind is weak compared to yours. Maybe we don't have powers, but we don't give up. Not when it matters. For the first time, Soraya's expression shifted. Not sorrow, not anger, something else. A memory stirred in her heart, of warriors long gone who once fought beside her with the same fire in their eyes. She looked away, her voice softer. Your spirit, it reminds me of them. Before Daniel could ask more, the ruins exploded. The wall shattered, stone and dust sprang through the chamber. 3 hunters stepped inside, their red eyes glowing, weapons unfolding from their arms. Daniel raised his spear, though he knew it was useless. Soraya lifted her hand, gathering what little strength she had left. But then, something unexpected happened. The hunters stopped. Their heads tilted, scanning Soraya and Daniel. The red glow in their eyes flickered as if receiving commands from far away. Then one spoke. Its voice was sharp, metallic. Memory sequence confirmed. Subject Soraya classified as warsinger. Human subject classified as anomaly. Daniel blinked. Anomaly? The hunters moved forward. Weapons charged with energy, humming louder, ready to fire. Soraya gritted her teeth. She grabbed Daniel's arm, pulling him back. We cannot fight them here. Not yet. She led him through a side passage deeper into the ruins. The hunters followed, their heavy steps shaking the ground. As they ran, Soraya spoke quickly. These ruins, they are older than the machines. They may hold something we can use, but only if we can reach the inner chamber before the hunters catch us. Daniel's lungs burned, but he kept running. What's in the chamber? Her eyes flashed. A record. The truth. The memory of the forgotten war. If you see it, human, you will understand what we face. They turned a corner, rushing into a vast hall. Strange pillars rose from the floor, carved with glowing symbols. In the center stood a massive stone structure, its surface covered in cracks of light. Soraya stopped, her hand pressed against the stone. This is it. The hunters entered the hall behind them, red eyes burning. Daniel raised his spear again. His body shook, but he stood in front of her. Do it, he said. I'll hold them. The machine voices boomed together. Terminate. Energy blasts lit the hall. Daniel charged. Soraya pressed her hand harder against the stone. The symbols glowed brighter, filling the hall with ancient light. The war of the past was about to awaken. The hall glowed with ancient light. Strange symbols burned across the stone walls, pulsing like a heartbeat. Soraya's hand pressed against the central pillar, her eyes glowing as she whispered words in a forgotten tongue. Behind them, the hunters advanced. Their heavy metal feet struck the floor in rhythm, echoing like drums of war. Energy hummed in their weapons, ready to kill. Daniel gripped his broken spear. His palms were slick with sweat, his heart pounding like thunder in his chest. The machines were taller, stronger, unbreakable. But he stood between them and Soraya. He had no choice. The hunters raised their arms. Blades unfolded. Energy cores glowed red. Target locked. Eliminate. The first shot fired. A beam of crimson light streaked through the hall, searing past Daniel's head and striking the stone pillar. Sparks and dust filled the air. Daniel dropped low, rolling across the floor, the heat of the blast burning against his skin. He leapt up again, thrusting his spear at the nearest hunter. The dull metal clanged uselessly against the machine's armor. The hunter didn't even flinch. It swung its blade arm down, the strike fast enough to split stone. Daniel dove aside. The blade tore a trench into the floor where he had stood. Another beam fired. Daniel barely had time to throw himself behind a broken pillar. The stone cracked under the blast. Daniel! Soraya's voice rang out behind him. Her hands were still pressed to the glowing structure, her body trembling with effort. I need time. Hold them. Hold them? Daniel shouted, his voice shaking. I can't even scratch them. But even as fear clawed at him, he refused to run. He looked at the broken spear in his hands, then at the shattered stones around him. His eyes narrowed. Humans always found a way. He grabbed a chunk of heavy stone and hurled it at one of the hunters. It slammed against the machine's head, making it stumble for a brief moment. It wasn't much, but it was enough. Daniel dashed forward, jabbing the spear into the machine's glowing red eye. Sparks burst as the weapon cracked the lens. The hunter screeched in static, staggering back. Confirmed human anomaly. Increased threat level. The others advanced faster. Daniel's chest heaved. He knew he couldn't hold them for long. His body was flesh. Theirs was metal. But something deep inside him refused to stop. The machines closed in, and then the ground shook. The stone structure beneath Soraya's hands blazed with sudden power. Ancient light poured out, racing along the walls, across the pillars, into the floor. Strange images flickered in the air, visions of war. Daniel turned, his eyes wide. He saw a galaxy burning. Planets consumed by fire, armies of machines marching across worlds, their red eyes endless, their fleets blotting out the stars. And he saw Soraya, not weak as she was now, but blazing with power, leading warriors into battle. Her voice rang out, strong and commanding, carried by the memory itself. They will not own the stars. We fight not for one world, but for all. The vision struck Daniel like a storm. His breath caught in his chest. These were not simple enemies. The hunters were only pieces of something far greater, an empire of machines that had crushed countless civilizations. The light dimmed. Soraya staggered, her body shaking. You see now, she whispered. This is the truth of the forgotten war. Daniel's hands trembled on the spear. He should have felt despair. Instead, he felt fire. Then we fight them again, he said, his voice hard. Together. Before Sariah could answer, the hunters roared forward. The first swung its blade at Daniel. He ducked, the strike slicing past his head. The second fired its beam, the blast tearing into the wall. Stone rained down. Sariah raised her hand. Though weak, her eyes blazed once more. A wave of invisible force slammed into the nearest hunter, hurling it back. Its armored body cracked as it hit the wall, sparks spraying across the floor. But the effort cost her. She fell to one knee, gasping. Daniel rushed to her side, helping her stand. The hunters advanced again, slower this time, wary. Their red eyes glowed brighter, scanning the two of them. Recommendation, capture, one of them said. Human anomaly may be connected to subject Sariah. Daniel's blood turned cold. Capture. They didn't just want to kill him now, they wanted him alive. Sariah's grip tightened on his arm. They have marked you, she whispered. You are part of this war now. The hunters moved closer, their shadows stretching across the glowing floor. Daniel looked at Sariah. His body shook, but his voice was steady. Then let's make them regret it. The hall filled with the sound of charging weapons. Red light built in their cores, brighter, hotter, ready to unleash death. Sariah closed her eyes. Her voice was soft, almost a promise. If I fall human, you must carry this war. Promise me. Daniel's throat tightened. He raised his spear. I promise. The hunters fired. The hall exploded in fire and light. The chamber was fire and smoke. The hunters' blasts tore through the ruins, shaking the ancient walls. Stone cracked. Dust poured from the ceiling, and the air burned with the smell of scorched rock. Daniel coughed, his chest aching, but he held his ground. The broken spear was still in his hands, the tip glowing faintly from striking the machines again and again. It was useless as a weapon, but he refused to drop it. Beside him, Sariah struggled to stand. Her glow flickered, her body weakened from centuries of sleep. Yet even drained, her presence filled the air with something powerful, something the machines feared. Another hunter stepped through the smoke. Its red eye burned like a torch in the darkness. Human anomaly, resistance level, unexpected. Termination required. Daniel tightened his grip on the spear. Come on then, he muttered. His body shook, but his voice held steady. I'm not afraid of you. The machine raised its arm. The blade gleamed, sharp enough to split steel. It swung. Daniel leapt forward instead of back. His spear met the blade with a shower of sparks. The impact threw him to the ground, but he rolled, sprang up, and struck again. His strike left only a scratch across the hunter's armor, but it was a scratch. The hunter tilted its head, scanning him. Analysis, human combat ability exceeds limits. Possible mutation detected. Daniel spat dust from his mouth. No mutation. Just stubborn. Another hunter advanced, its weapon glowing with energy. It fired. Daniel grabbed Sariah and pulled her behind a fallen pillar. The blast struck stone, shattering it into shards. He shielded her with his own body, rocks tearing into his back. He gasped but refused to fall. Sariah's voice trembled. You will die if you keep standing against them. Daniel turned to her, his face pale but his eyes burning. Better to die fighting than kneeling. That's what it means to be human. For a long moment, Sariah said nothing. Her eyes widened slightly as if she were seeing him for the first time. Not as a fragile creature, but as something else. Something rare. Another blast struck nearby, shaking the ground. Daniel rose, spear in hand, and charged the nearest hunter. His body screamed with pain, but his spirit roared louder. He dodged a blade, slid under another, and rammed his spear into the machine's leg joint. Sparks burst, and the hunter stumbled. It was only a moment of weakness, but to Daniel it was victory. He pulled the spear free, shouting through the smoke. See? You can bleed. You're not gods. You're just machines. The hunters all paused. Their red eyes flickered, scanning him with cold calculation. Correction, one said. Human anomaly, dangerous. Prioritize elimination. They aimed all weapons at him. Sariah's heart pounded. She could not let him be destroyed. She closed her eyes, reaching deep within herself. For centuries her power had slept, chained by the prison. But Daniel's defiance lit something inside her. A memory of why she once fought. Her eyes snapped open, blazing with fire. She rose to her feet, her voice cutting through the hall. You will not take him. A wave of energy burst from her body, slamming into the hunters. The shockwave threw them back, crashing into walls, sparks bursting from their armor. Daniel stumbled, shielding his eyes from the blinding light. When it faded, he saw her, standing tall, glowing brighter than before. She was weak, yes, but her power was rising again, piece by piece. The hunters screeched in static. Warning. Subject Soraya regaining strength. Reinforcements required. Their voices echoed as they retreated, pulling back through the smoke. For now, the hall was silent. Daniel dropped to his knees, gasping for breath. His arms shook, his body bruised and bleeding, but his spirit was unbroken. Soraya turned to him. Her glow softened as she knelt beside him. "You are reckless," she whispered. "Reckless, but alive." Daniel coughed a laugh, wincing at the pain. "Alive's good enough." For the first time, a faint smile touched her lips, but it vanished quickly. She looked toward the ruined doorway where the hunters had disappeared. Her voice grew dark again. "They will return, stronger, with more. They do not stop." Daniel leaned against the pillar, his chest still heaving. "Then we fight them again." "Every time." Her eyes searched his face. He was bloodied, weak, only human. And yet, there was something in him no machine could measure. No weapon could erase. She spoke softly, almost to herself. "Your kind was always underestimated," Daniel frowned. "What do you mean?" She looked away, her expression unreadable. Long ago, the machines studied many races. They decided who was strong, who was weak. They ignored yours. They thought humans too small, too fragile to matter. But perhaps they were wrong. Daniel's heart pounded, not from fear this time, but from something else. A dangerous idea. Before he could speak, the ground rumbled again. From far above, the sound of engines roared. The ruins trembled as new shadows moved across the jungle canopy. More hunters were coming. Soraya rose, helping him to his feet. "You cannot face them with only steel. We must move deeper into the ruins. There may still be weapons left behind by those who came before." Daniel staggered but stood tall. His hand tightened on the broken spear. "Then let's find them." Together they moved deeper into the glowing halls, the echoes of war behind them and the promise of more ahead. Above, red lights streaked the sky. The machines were gathering. The hunt had only begun. The ruins stretched on like a maze. Broken walls, glowing symbols, and halls filled with shadows surrounded Daniel and Soraya as they moved deeper underground. Every step echoed, and every echo reminded them they were not safe. Above, the jungle shook with the sound of engines. The machines were gathering. The sky itself seemed to tremble under their arrival. Daniel limped slightly, his body bruised and bleeding, but his spirit burned brighter than ever. He gripped his broken spear like a lifeline. Beside him, Soraya moved silently. Her eyes glowed faintly, though the light flickered. She had used too much power too soon. Still, even weakened, there was something unshakable about her. Daniel broke the silence. "How many of them will come?" Her voice was steady, though quiet. "As many as it takes. They do not tire. They do not fear. If they must send armies, they will. The machines will not stop until I am dust. And you with me?" Daniel gave a half smile. "Then let's not make it easy for them." She glanced at him, studying his face. He was only human, no strength beyond muscle and bone, no power beyond courage. And yet, he walked beside her as if he carried the weight of a world on his shoulders. For a moment, she remembered another time. Warriors long ago standing against impossible odds. They too had fought with that same fire. Most were gone now, swallowed by the endless war. But here, in this fragile human, she saw a spark she thought lost forever. They entered a wide chamber. In the center stood an ancient structure, tall, jagged, shaped like a weapon but broken with age. Strange runes pulsed faintly across it like the last heartbeat of a dying star. Soraya stepped closer, her hand brushing the surface. The stone shivered beneath her touch. "This was a forge," she whispered. "A place where weapons were made to fight the machines. Long ago my people built them. But now," she shook her head, "now it is only ash." Daniel's eyes hardened. "Ash can still burn if the fire returns." Soraya looked at him, surprised by his words. He placed his hand beside hers on the stone. For a moment the runes brightened, glowing stronger. The forge trembled as if recognizing something within him. Soraya gasped softly. "Impossible," Daniel frowned. "What?" Her voice was filled with awe. "It responds to you. No human should carry such resonance unless—" She trailed off, her eyes narrowing. "Unless your kind is not as weak as the machines believed." Before Daniel could answer, the chamber shook. The sound of metal feet thundered through the halls. The hunters had found them. Dozens poured into the chamber, red eyes glowing, weapons ready. Their voices rang out in unison. Subject Sariah detected. Human anomaly confirmed. Capture priority. Daniel raised his spear. His body ached, but his spirit stood tall. Guess they really don't like me. Sariah's eyes burned brighter. No, they fear you. The machines advanced. Energy blasts filled the air. Daniel ducked behind the forge, the stone shaking as beams struck it. He leapt out, charging one of the hunters. His spear slammed into its chest, sparks bursting as he forced it back. Another hunter swung a blade. Daniel rolled under the strike, came up behind it, and rammed the spear into the joint of its leg. The machine screeched, collapsing, but there were too many. They surrounded him, weapons raised. Daniel panted, sweat and blood dripping down his face. He could not fight them all. Sariah stepped forward. Her voice rang out like thunder. Stay away from him. Her body flared with power. Energy exploded outward, slamming into the machines. Half were thrown back, crashing into the walls. The others staggered, red eyes flickering, but the light dimmed quickly. Sariah fell to her knees, gasping. Her power was returning, but not fast enough. Each burst took more from her. Daniel rushed to her side, helping her up. You'll kill yourself if you keep doing that. Her eyes met his. They burned with both fury and sorrow. If I do nothing, we both die. Daniel shook his head. Not like this. You said if you regain all your power, it could destroy you. Don't, we'll find another way. Her voice was barely a whisper. There is no other way. The storm has already begun. The machines will not stop. If I unleash everything, I may fall, but it will break them. And you, human. You must carry what comes after. Daniel's throat tightened. He wanted to argue, to shout, to refuse. But deep down he knew she was right. This war was bigger than both of them. Still, he placed a hand on her shoulder, steady and strong. If you fall, then I'll carry it. But until then, we fight together. Her eyes softened. For the first time, she let herself trust. She nodded. The machines regrouped, rising from the rubble. Their voices echoed like a storm. Resistance meaningless. Submission required. Daniel raised his spear, his voice sharp and defiant. We don't submit. Not now, not ever. The chamber shook as the machines advanced again, but this time Sariah rose beside him. Her glow grew brighter, her voice steady. This is the rising storm, she whispered, and they will know what it means to face the fire. The hunters charged. The forge blazed, and the war roared back to life. The forge blazed with ancient light. The runes pulsed brighter with every heartbeat, filling the chamber with a glow that pushed back the shadows. Daniel stood with his broken spear, Sariah beside him, her body glowing like a dying star ready to flare once more. The hunters poured into the hall. Their red eyes shone like fire. Their metal bodies clanged against the stone as they surrounded the pair. The air shook with the hum of charged weapons. Subject Sariah must be terminated. Human anomaly, priority, capture. Their voices echoed together like a choir of steel. Daniel tightened his grip on the spear. His arms trembled with exhaustion, but his spirit stood taller than ever. He looked at Sariah, and for the first time she did not look like a prisoner or a fallen warrior. She looked like what she truly was, a queen of war. Sariah's eyes burned, her voice calm yet fierce. This is where it ends. The last chain breaks tonight. The hunters charged. Daniel roared, charging too. He leapt at the nearest machine, driving his spear into its glowing eye. Sparks exploded. The hunter fell back, crashing into two others. Another swung its blade. Daniel dodged, rolling across the floor, slamming a rock into its knee joint. The machine staggered. He climbed onto its back, stabbing the spear again and again until red sparks burst out. But more surrounded him. Beams of energy shot toward his chest. Before they struck, Sariah raised her hand. A shield of light burst outward, absorbing the blasts. Her body shook with the effort, but she held firm. Keep fighting, she shouted. Daniel obeyed. He fought with every ounce of strength, every drop of will. His strikes were wild, desperate, but they carried something no machine could match, defiance. The hunters began to falter. They had expected a prisoner and a weak human. Instead, they faced a storm. Sariah's glow grew brighter, her power rising. Flames of energy swirled around her, lifting her hair, burning her eyes with white fire. She spread her arms wide, her voice echoing like thunder. You chained me once. Never again. A wave of power exploded from her, tearing through the hunters. Metal bodies shattered, red eyes went dark, and the walls of the ruins trembled as if the world itself bowed to her fury. Daniel shielded his face from the blinding light. When it faded, half the hunters lay broken on the ground, but the survivors did not retreat. They reformed their line, their voices cold and merciless. "Activate Prime Unit," the chamber shook. From the shadows emerged a giant. Taller than all the others, its body layered in thick black armor, its red eye burning brighter than the sun. Its footsteps cracked the floor. Daniel's throat went dry. "That is bigger than the rest." Soraya's face hardened. "The Prime, the one who commanded my prison. He comes to finish what he began." The Prime raised its massive arm. Energy gathered at its core, a sphere of blazing red light. It aimed at Soraya. Daniel didn't think, he moved. He sprinted forward, leaping in front of her as the blast fired. The beam struck him full in the chest. The world went white. He hit the ground hard, pain tearing through his body. Smoke rose from his burned clothes. His spear rolled from his hand. Soraya's scream shook the chamber. She fell beside him, her hands glowing as she tried to heal, but her power was not made for healing. Her eyes filled with something no machine could understand. Fear. Fear of losing him. Daniel coughed, blood on his lips. His voice was weak but steady. "I told you. I won't leave you." Soraya's tears glowed like silver fire. Something inside her broke and something greater awoke. Her body blazed with light so bright it blinded even the machines. She rose, lifting Daniel's broken body in her arms, and turned toward the Prime. "You wanted chains," she roared. "You will have ashes." Her power erupted in a storm. Energy poured from her like a burning star, flooding the chamber. The hunters screamed in static as they were ripped apart. The Prime staggered, its armor cracking under the blast. Soraya flew forward, her glow blazing like a comet. She struck the Prime with both hands, her voice echoing across the ruins.
"For every life you stole, this ends now."
The Prime's red eye shattered. Its body split in two, collapsing with a final metallic scream. Silence fell. The ruins trembled one last time, then grew still. Soraya landed, her glow fading. She knelt, holding Daniel close. His eyes fluttered open, weak but alive. "You're still here," he whispered. She brushed her hand across his face, her voice soft now. "Because of you," he tried to smile. "Guess humans aren't so weak after all." Her lips curved into a faint smile. "No. You are more dangerous than the machines ever believed." She looked up at the broken ceiling, at the stars beyond. This was only the first battle. "The storm will spread. They will come again." Daniel coughed, but his eyes held fire. "Then let them come. We'll be ready." Soraya held him close, her voice steady but filled with promise. Together. Above them, the jungle burned with the last glow of falling machine wreckage. The night was quiet but not peaceful. For somewhere in the dark, the machine empire had already felt the loss. The war of humans and machines was only beginning. And this time, humanity would not be overlooked.